Welcome to Bards Atlas. Tonight's story was inspired by concept art from Damon Rogers at Bitmonster Games. Enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fine mead that is. And will you be paying for it this time, Yarvin?
Oh, you know that I'm good for it, Tom.
Sure, so long as you don't get locked away in a cell someplace.
Oh, that's uncalled for, below the belt.
Is this the place?
Well, it's called Tom's Tavern. I think it's the place.
Well, don't just stand there letting the cold blother in. Close the door behind you.
Yeah.
Go. All right. Where is he?
Can I get you off-worlders a drink?
And just who you calling an off-worlder?
Garrick, why don't you let me handle this? Have a drink. We were hoping you could help us find someone.
Has this someone a name?
We were told to ask for Yarvin the Mighty.
Yarvin the Mighty? Is that what he told you?
Of course not. But, you know, word gets around. A man has many successful exploits to be warranting a title, don't you think?
Or you've got some exploits to your name, all right. I got a pub in a face and right now.
Garrick, calm down.
Hey, all right.
Yarvin, we would like to know if you've ever been to the Celestial Mountains.
Oh, Yarvin!
The Celestial Mountains. Of course not.
Oh, yeah, you have. I saw you making a break for the Southern Foragers Guard. Pressure suit in your grubby little hands.
What are you blokes? Imperials? Agents coming to take me in for a laugh? Even so, you've not got a lot of proof.
Relax, Yarvin. We just want to know what happened. Right, Garrick? I'm a bard of the Republic Sanctum. I'm traveling back home, but I need to finish this assignment. Can you help me out?
Better tell them, Yarvin.
Bards of the Sanctum should be spinning a yarn to us, not the other way around.
We'll pick up your tab.
Have a seat.
Much obliged.
Before I go telling you my tale, I'll be needing some assurances. Payment alone doesn't suit a story of this particular nature.
The only thing I can assure you is that every second you are talking is another whip I'm gonna add to your face.
You know what, Garrick? Why don't you just stand over there, huh, buddy? Just stand over there. Right over there.
Over here?
Little further.
Here?
Great. Let's get started.
Okay! Now, where to begin? It was in the mountainous southern territory. A beautiful sunset had just...
Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. I forgot to... Eli normally does this. I just gotta... Sorry, it's my computer.
What's that now?
Gotta handle this real quick.
His recording device.
Fox.
And it really kills the moment. I need the momentum to keep going, you know, it's the build. It's the build, it's important. It really, stops the momentum dead, you know.
Yarvin, these are bards.
I'm no bard.
Yeah, and?
Bards know how to tell the story best.
I just said I'm not a bard, you snooting dolts.
Well, they're not telling the story, are they, Tom?
Still?
I'm actually ready for you guys. If you,
right.
Just so you know.
Yes. Where was I?
You were setting the stage, I guess.
Right. It was at the end of the day in the mountainous southern territory. It was the beginning of my hunt. It was. I'm not an official forager, no thanks to the law, but I live far from most of the town, so I have to make my living off of hunting small game, you know. Mainly I hunt quash, you know, adorable tasty things. Their fur is worse than kind to if you know how to skin it right. Anywho, I was out near a field at the base of the Celestial Mountains, just my rifle in me, and I spotted one of the biggest, most beautiful quash I'd ever laid eyes on. You know, the kind sterling silver fur, eyes that shone in the moonlight, and enormous ferocious fangs dripping with white venom.
Qualsh don't have fangs like that.
Oh, excuse me, Tam. I didn't realize that this was your story.
You said ferocious venomous fangs. Qualsh don't have fangs like that. Are you sure you don't mean a Borgrath?
Of course not. That'd be illegal, highly illegal. Borgrath hunting. It was just a rare breed of qualsh, that's all.
Rare breed of qualsh.
Yes. Now will you let me continue my frickin' tale? Now when I sold the qualsh in the moonlight, I know I had to be having it. A qualsh like that could set a man up for months of food and drink, but as I tracked it further south, I realised it was heading up higher and higher towards the Celestial Mountains. Now, you off-worlders may not be aware that since the so-called War of the Ages 1,000 years ago, Grenvar still hasn't quite been, fully recovered. The environment is dangerous, unstable at some parts, such as these particular mountains, can no longer even be traversed without special gear, a kind of gear only a master forger or an off-worlder might carry. So, once I had borrowed the pressure suit, I made my way up the mountain after the qualsh.
Making sure to avoid the patrols, I'm sure.
Oh, blast it, Tam! I wasn't doing anything wrong this time.
That's a load of Borgrath dung, that is.
You mean you weren't taking stolen equipment into forbidden territory to illegally poach a Borgrath?
you and your ideas. The bards believe me, don't they?
Mm-hmm. I'm not a bard, you lumpkins.
Shut up, Garrick, please. Let's just continue.
I'm not sure I want to finish this.
You don't have to worry about Garrick. He's in his corner.
Oh, yeah, and I'm doing just fine over here, thank you.
It's not that. It's just I don't have quite enough drink in me for the next part.
Sure, another round.
Oh, and some dried qualsh meat.
Yeah, one for him, and yeah, I'll take some too.
Oi, Yarvin. I'd say you've made some friends. What's that old Imperial saying?
A man with a drink is never short on friends. Your story had better match our tab.
Oh, that's easy. For what happened next. This is where things get interesting. About 7 hours into my hunt, I started to see some crazy, strange happenings. Things you would think me crazy for spouting about. To take one, there were some birds singing a pretty little song. Now, you may not know that as a tracker on the hunt, it is helpful to be away from birds because they usually mean the base hasn't even been that way. At the very least, I thought they would give me position away. Being at the Borgrath, the silver qualsh is as a cute a listener as it is, but as I slowly made my way from the birds, their song got louder and louder. Yeah, no matter what direction I turned, it got louder. So I realised I needed to get rid of the birds, but as soon as I got close to where there was nesting, they were gone. No nest was to be found. Not even a feather was left behind. It was like they had never even been there. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yarvin the mad. Yarvin's lost his edge, but I know what I heard. And if you don't believe me to this point in the tale, I advise you to stop me now because it only gets even more strange from there.
We like strange. Have another drink.
Okay, so as I go further and further up the mountain, still after my prey, the air became thin and I began to detect radiation. That's why the suit was so important, you see. The Celestial Mountains have been largely unexplored since the end of the War of the Ages, partially because only since the Empire arrived have we even had the technology to survive up here. Many a treasure hunter and explorer have gone up here, but the altitude or the cold did not kill them. The radiation from the war surely would. During the war, many dastardly weapons were unleashed upon Grenvar, and some areas are so ecologically unstable that they have to be very carefully contained. That, for the record, is why there are so many patrols to keep a simple man such as myself from doing a simple thing like hunting certain creatures. The point is, people don't really go up these mountains. Even the Master Forager and those in service have a hard time finding the stones to chase a lawbreaker up. To be honest, they rarely have to. For anyone not especially equipped, and even those that are, won't survive for long. All this to say, I was taken quite off guard when I don't really like to admit when I'm caught with my thumb up my arse. When I tracked my quarry through a small forest clearing, and as I came through, there before me were with their rifles all pointed my way was a patrol. Maybe 7 or 8 men. They must have tracked me up here, I thought. Because of my little run-in with the foragers' barracks down below. So, of course, I hit the ground. My rifle already drawn, and I waited for them to fire. But they didn't. I shouted to them, told them about how I was gonna just go back to the mountain if they'd let me go. But they didn't say nothing. So here's I, thinking they was not in the mood to be lawful. Thinking this was my end. I got up and ran to cover behind the trees expecting to be blasted, but I wasn't. They didn't even call out to me. I peeked my head about to have a look. There they still were, just standing there motionless. They still had the blasters pointed to where I had come through, so I thought maybe I'd given them the slip. Turned to move to the trees around the clearing, but curiosity got the better of me, I guess. I went back around slowly. Still they stood, frozen in place, like statues. I crept up on them from the side, expecting them to at any moment to turn on me and fire, but they didn't. And I was about 10 meters away. That's when I realized something else. Not one of them was wearing a pressure suit like I had. Sure, at this altitude you can still, breathe a little, but the radiation, the cold. I realized these cannot be foragers, men. In what adornments they did sport were strange indeed. They had guns and were dressed for war, alright. But they looked like soldiers I had told of in the stories of the old war. It's the white fur that gives it away, you see. Not unheard of these days on Grandfather, but certainly less common. And all these blokes had it on. One of them even had the seal of the Old Kingdom, for which we Gravarians have forgotten the name.
So they were frozen solid in ice. We've heard of that happening before, but certainly rare.
Oh, it's a cold planet with even colder mountains. So of course, once I realized that these are old war soldiers, that was my thought as well. Except their cheeks were still rosy. No life was still in their eyes. There was no ice, no blackened skin. Nothing to show that they had been frozen in this position. Besides, how could that even happen? Even as they were standing ready to attack, even in the middle of a clearing. I mean, it made no sense. So I approached one to see, a little closer. As soon as I came near, suddenly, before my eyes, all 7 or 8 of them turned blood to ash. Their rifles lay on the ground where they'd stood, rusted and tarnished, a few of them buried by the snow and ice. It was like the whole scene changed before me in an instant. I couldn't believe it. I still almost can't believe it.
That's it? Then you came back down the mountain?
Patience, Bard. Look at his eyes. These are the harrowed eyes of a man who has seen things so unbelievable that even the truth of his senses torments him day and night. While he sleeps and whilst he is awake, he cannot form the words to impart his burden to another innocent shoulder. Either that, or he's had too much to drink. Too much to drink.
Now you've done it, you'd better cut him off.
No way, this is great stuff.
The story is pretty good too, eh? Besides, I've only had 6 drinks. I've got at least 30 more before my information becomes unreliable.
You'd better get what you need out of him soon. I'm already detecting some small embellishments from him.
Well, that's a bit of an understatement, don't you think?
Babe. Where were we? Oh, that's right. The soldiers. After I seen the soldiers turn to dust, I thought maybe it was an ill-fated omen for my own doom. Thought, maybe the radiation had already done its foul work, but if it had been the case, it was already too late for me to go turning back now. Especially when, just ahead at the end of the clearing, I saw my fabled quarry. The ferocious Borgrath.
So it was the Borgrath! I knew it!
Oh, that's not, no. I didn't say Borgrath. I had said... Bronze. Alright, okay. I have a confession. It was the Borgrath. That was the all part of the reveal of the story. Okay? Brilliant. Wasn't it? Had you fooled for sure? Anywho, hold your applause, for I had not captured the Borgrath yet, but there she was, staring me down from across the field, like she was begging for me to come and claim her silver hide. Real intelligent. Eyes black and cold now, like my ex-wife. I know it was too late for me to go back down, for if I did not hunt her, she would probably hunt me at this point. Borgrath are known to do that, and known for setting ambushes, so it's a bit of a conundrum to decide whether to flee or to, once it knows it's being hunted, But I continued to track it after it disappeared back into the forest. With one last look behind me, I pressed on into the wood. And that's when something stranger happened. The trees were gone. Oh, that's not quite right. The big trees are smaller. The small trees were missing. I stood up at the top of the enormous mountain valley in the middle of it, at this low point. Some 1,000 meters below was an enormous city of stone, and carved right from the mountain. It was crowded. There were people everywhere, mostly soldiers. There were farm animals fleeing in the distance as the fire burnt the crops. There was ships of stone, ships like we have now, only made of stone, flying through the air. They were firing at each other. There was explosions and the like, and kind of as if I had never seen, but only heard about in lore and in legend. Only one thing with all of this is, it was all frozen. All of it. Frozen mid-action. The people, the animals, the ships, which cannot even, possibly be, just setting up in the air, and the explosions of the fire, which had all the wild, untamable beauty. If such beauty could be trapped in a safe glass box, it was like nothing I had ever seen before or even since.
This city of stone, did you recognize it?
I'd never seen it before, if that's what you mean.
But did it have the flag raised? The one from the legends.
Aye, that it did. The Black Borgrath. The flag of the Old Kingdom. To this day, no one knows the true name of that kingdom, nor its capital city. People have scoured ruins and ruins, never to turn up that detail. I'm no historian, but every child on Grunvar is told the stories and legends of the war. There must be 100 variations of the story about the missing city, or the lost city, or or whatever people are calling it these days, Tom? The one thing that most of them have in common is a large white stone palace in the centre with a flag of the Black Borgrath raised high. And as I saw it, I struggled to remember the stories I had been told of it, but none of them could come to mind to help reconcile what my eyes were laid upon. I must have stood there, frozen myself, for over 20 minutes. I noticed a few other strange things. First off, it was daytime. I could have sworn that the stars had just set as I began the hunt, so I should have a few more hours left before daybreak, but not only were the suns lighting up the skies, they had a great glowing rings about them. I never studied the stars much neither, but I know enough that I didn't look right. You know, that it didn't look right at all. Lastly, there was a single white light, off in the distance, but it was coming from the ground. It hadn't stood out at first because the explosions and the fire were all around, but this light had none of the looks of the others. It occurred to me around this moment there was still a Borgrath to catch. I looked at the thin mountain snow and ice and saw the claw marks of the beast heading off in the direction of the white light. And so as I went along, I saw men and women shooting their rifles at other men and women. I saw what looked like civilians fleeing their homes, and as others were in the act of shooting them in cold blood, but there was a child. And she was being attacked by a man. And it looked like, or it felt like maybe I wanted to stop it. It was happening before me in my action, even though they were all frozen, and I wanted to stop it, so I reached out to the child to pull her away from him, to get her to safety, and when I did, she turned to ash and bone. She turned to ash and bone. Right in my hand, she did. Just like the soldiers from before, I kept going. Before I grabbing that soldier so that he'd turn to ash too. But I kept on going all the same eventually. I made it out to the light. It was in the middle of a frozen pond, about 2 clicks from the city of the White Stone. I could hardly believe my eyes, even still when I arrived. The white light was like a single strand of light. More like a thread in terms of movement. It seemed like a single tongue of fire extending to the heavens. In the center of it all, I saw a small mass of bodies. Some were dead. Some looked like they were lying there dying, clutching their wounds, but all of them had their eyes on one person. It was a woman, clad in robes lined in iron, her cloak billowing in the wind. Several of the men lying about had their arms reached up as if they were trying to stop her from doing something, the others defending her to the last breath. I don't know if she was royalty or not, but I think it had something to do with the device she held in her hands. It was a small metal sphere, about 1/3 of a meter thick. This wouldn't be strange except that, save for the weapons, most of everything around here was made of either stone or wood. Even the ships that were flying about. So the metal looked, out of place. But more out of place than that, it was the great white light that was being emitted from the device in her hands. It was glowing bright white all around, extending towards the sky. As I walked out into the middle of the ice, entranced by the light, it became clear that this device held in her hands the men who died so that she could use it, and the men who were killed so they could stop her from using it. This device was that had caused the freeze. must have been a powerful weapon. The ability to freeze time. That's my best guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. As soon as he tried to interact with things, they aged, right? It's like time caught up with them.
That I believe as well. But I wasn't finished yet. For at that moment, I heard a nasty snarl behind me. My hair stood on the edge and chilling up my spine. And I realized I had gotten so distracted by the light that I had walked out into the middle of the night without a clue where the Borgrath was. I slowly turned and there she was, staring me in the face. Eyes narrowed, fangs drawn, venom dripping. Steam was coming from the ice where her venom fell. I knew I wouldn't be able to draw my rifle in time. I had but one chance. I reached into my back holster right as she leapt at me with her powerful legs and pulled out me hunter's knife. I dropped to my knees and I pulled it out just enough to get right under her. With my other hand, right on her ribs, I sliced open her belly. That's the only soft spot on a Borgrath after all, as I used her momentum to push her over me and away from my hand, and she hit the ground sliding, and wouldn't you know it, she slid right into the white light coming from the device and disappeared. I felt a lot of things all at once, as I was pleased to be alive, but upset that she had escaped, but confused as to how. But I didn't have much time to wonder, for that moment later, she reappeared out of nowhere, just as she had before attacking, and her belly was not even bleeding. She was fine after all. She had her eyes set on me once again. This time I drowned my rifle already, because I was still on the edge, so without thinking I cocked my rifle back and fired. It hit it right in between the eyes, and it fell to the ground dead. This time, I felt a lot better, but was still confused, for it had appeared out of thin air, right where it had been before it attacked me the first time. Now, I had a theory to test. I crouched down into the firing position and trained my sights on the air above the now dead Borgrath. Sure enough, after another moment, maybe 80 seconds, the Borgrath appeared again, rearing back to attack just as before. When I saw it, I was hiding behind the massive bodies. It changed, of course, just a little bit, before I shot it in the eyes as well. And just like that, I had 2 Borgrath pelts to claim. Of course, I knew it was coming back, but I was so close to the light myself. I thought I was going to investigate a little further, and look, I was going to tell you this, especially since I've only... How many have I had, Tam? Only a few meads and an ale?
3 ales.
About a dozen meads.
Oh, okay. Okay. But look, as I was sitting there, I saw it, sitting maybe a meter away from the woman who held this device in her hands. It was, as far as I could tell, it was the second version of the same device. A backup, if you will. This one was silver and still as well, but no light was being emitted from it. But I knew that if I had touched it, it might decay on me. Still, I couldn't resist. I grabbed it. I don't know what I would have done with it. I maybe sell it, but I grabbed it all the same. And get this. It barely aged at all. Barely. Maybe it was somehow resistant. Maybe it had actually aged a full amount, some 1,000 years, and was surprisingly durable. But I couldn't believe the look. And then to boot, I managed to come away with a full cart of Borgrath pelts. A full cart. Can you believe it? I swear I thought I was dead in the lands of our fathers. I mean, technically, I suppose that part of that was true. I managed to get away with the stone sled I found and flee the remaining stream of Borgrath that had been spawning behind me.
Wait. You mean to tell me you came away with an entire cart of Borgrath pelts and venom, and yet last week you acquired a top so large you couldn't pay me in full? You could buy me tavern from me with the sum you amassed.
Can I interject here? I just want to be clear about something. Somewhere in the mountains, near a town frozen completely in time, is a light that is perpetually spawning a dangerous, bloodthirsty Borgrath every minute.
What happened to the device?
I'm getting to that. Steady your wits, lads, honestly. I think I've maybe been there half a day. Relatively speaking, of course, because time seemed to be frozen, but as I made my way back down the mountain, I came to the spot where I heard the birds calling. I still heard them. I really wanted to know where the birds were coming from. I never found out, but as I was listening very intently, calmly, with my eyes shut tight, I heard a branch snap. There's some twigs under a boat. I know this sound because I have been in the position of the rear of the boat that snaps the twig before. And I know that when someone is in the position to barely snap a twig from under their boot, besides making no other noise at all, it's because they're hoping someone else doesn't know that they're there. I know the game and how it's played. I knew what was about to happen. And I knew I had only one choice. I let the sled go and I ran down the mountain. Immediately, blaster shots rang out all around me. I heard one or two of them shout, but I was moving too fast to hear. But curse me luck, I had been taken so off guard, I didn't have time to plan an escape route, so I ended up falling on the icy rock below. I must have, slid 20 meters before slamming me back into a frozen tree. Large ice chunks fell from the tree, and one of them hit me square on the head. So I was pretty woozy, and I didn't get out to notice the blaster fire had stopped. I tried to get up, but I stumbled around in the snow and I tripped, and that's when I noticed. There were two armoured blokes standing there, well, a man and a woman, and cloaks on that bore the seal of the Southern Foragers Guard, typical mountain patrol. But as they walked near, they dropped these cloaks on the ground. What they was wearing wasn't the armour of the Foragers Guard, These two people belonged to someone else. I didn't see any other members of the patrol around, nor did I hear any blaster fire. It was just us now. They stepped towards me in the snow, and I thought I was done right then and there. But one of them, a big fella, took one of his gloves, and I saw him with a cybernetic hand. He hovered it over to me, and like it was scanning me or something, and then I felt him reach into my satchel and pull out the device that I had taken from the city. He said to the lass that he had found it, and she had said to him that there couldn't be any witnesses, but by this time I was pulling myself together. But I had the crazy idea, and my rifle was resting on my back, so before he could make a move, I reached behind me and fired it, striking the frozen tree with a loud shot that rang my ears. The remaining ice fell from around the tree, landing on these two folks, giving me just a second to flee further down the mountain. I ran and I didn't look back. Had to evade blaster fire before, so I was running that mind, that mindset, serpentine, but a shot never came. I just kept running, taking advantage of the oxygen in the suit, even at the low elevations, to help me push further and further. Must have been an hour's run. But eventually I ran into another patrol. I was convinced that I was one of them. And that I escaped an attack, and that I sent them back up there, hoping that they would take care of the folks, and I'd be able to, get the time bomb back. But all they found was a dead patrol, two bodies short of a full count. All the others had been shot, and the blokes that did it were nowhere to be found. So, there you go.
End of submission. Submission status: fact, fiction, uncertain.
Yarvin, could you answer the computer?
Oh, yeah, it's a fact. It's all true. 100% true. Except for that bit about me hunting the Borgrath and stealing the dangerous weapon and letting it fall into the hands of two scary-looking blokes who murdered an entire patrol. That was a bit creative embellishment, really. I mean, who would have actually, believe? Oh, I'm gonna be locked away, aren't I?
If you don't get your tab paid, you will be.
Here you go, Tam.
Oh, this is too much. I can't accept all this. It wouldn't be proper.
Oh, no, it's not proper. This is called bribery. I'm asking you to keep your mouth shut for money.
Oh, of course. If that's the reason, then sure.
How will you be keeping my mouth shut, Bard? Oh yeah, that'll do it.
I'll be hoping for a cut of that, Tom, as a finder's fee.
A finder's fee? The only thing you found is a dung heap of trouble, plus the bottom of a few dozen mugs of me best mead.
Now,
I'm not hearing it from you, Yarvin. I'm done with you. I'm done with
What's the part of business?
What cut of my sister? You'll regret the day you were born, you snoot-licking sack of Borgrath dung. That's what you are.
Computer, do me a favor and hold off sending this out. I've got to talk to Eli about this first. Set upload date to 2 months, and, yeah, Fox out.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of Bards Atlas. Yarvin the Mighty was played by special guest Mason Ortiz. Find Mo at his Tumblr in the description. Tam the Bartender was played by special guest Hunter Wolf, who performs regularly at the San Antonio Classic Theater. Fox was played by Preston Richard. This episode was written by Preston Richard. Music and editing by Preston Richard. Bards Atlas is a narrative and lore-building podcast that follows Fox and Eli, two traveling bards seeking new knowledge and stories across the universe. If you'd like to get in touch with us or submit an image or work of art to inspire a future episode, send an email to bardsatlas@gmail.com or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to leave a comment and a rating, and please share the program with friends and family. And as always, thank you so much for listening.